Most political analysts are now convinced that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad will not survive the national uprising against his brutal dictatorship. Speculation is rife about how regional politics will shift in a post-Assad era. What are the potential risks and benefits to the state of Israel? Right now, Syria is, of course, a close ally of Israel's archenemy, Iran. And Syria also supplies weapons to terrorist groups that operate against the Jewish state, Hezbollah in the north and Lebanon, and Hamas in the south. But could this all change? I sat down to talk about that with Professor Moshe Maoz. He's a professor of Middle Eastern and Islamic studies at Hebrew University. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Some Israeli leaders and analysts also in the past, maybe not any longer, would prefer Bashar to the alternative. As you say in America, it's better to work with the devil that you know, because Bashar is more known, he's pragmatic, you can do business with him. And the alternative might be the Muslim Brothers. And here in Israel, for some reason, everybody is scared of the Muslim Brothers. They regard all Muslims as anti-Semites and terrorists, which is not the case. But this is really the perception here. I think now it's been gone, and many Israelis feel, including leaders, that Assad should go because he's a killer, he's a butcher, and he does a great deal of harm to his own people.
And what are the risks to Israel if Assad falls? How are those different from some of the risks that we see coming out of Egypt?
One risk is that if there is a collapse of the regime, heavy arms, including missiles with chemical warheads, will go to Hezbollah. And Hezbollah is very vicious, and they don't have any limits. So this is, and Israel will have to intervene if there is a collapse of the regime. Another thing is that if the regime collapses and a Sunni general will emerge and make an alliance with the Muslim Brothers, this could be also not very good for Israel. But otherwise, we don't know. There is also an advantage, because even...
There's actually an advantage, you're saying. What?
The advantage is that the new regime, so to speak, will cut relations with Iran and Hezbollah, because after all, the major threat to Israel is not Syria, not Hezbollah even, but Iran. So if they cut relations with Iran, Iran will be more contained or weakened. And there is a possibility, again, we don't know for sure, that the new regime, if it's Sunni regime, will join forces with the other Sunni regimes in area, like Saudi Arabia, Jordan, the Gulf, maybe even Egypt, maybe Turkey, to contain Iran, together with Israel, which there is an alliance here, a potential alliance between Israel and them. But then, on the table, you will have the request of a new regime of Syria, which is the Golan Heights.
Yes, I was going to ask you about the Golan Heights. Whoever comes to power in Syria, they will not relinquish their demand to have the Golan Heights returned, will they?
Unfortunately, because there is a precedent, Sinai and Egypt, and no regime would make peace with Israel. And of course, it's a Middle East peace. It's not a North American peace or North European peace. No regime without having back the Golan Heights.
The people of Syria are not as religious as the people of Egypt. Will that make a difference in the end in their attitude towards Israel?
Yes, I think so, because there is this scare, fear here that Muslim Brothers will emerge. And I would say that Muslim Brothers exist in Syria, but they're not as powerful as in Egypt, because Egypt is more of a religious country, and Syria is more of a secular country. Take, for example, the Ba'ath Party, that's been in control for almost 50 years, since '63. And it's a secular regime, secular doctrination, and they taught and they indoctrinated the public in this, and it was maybe adopted by many. So yes, Muslim Brothers will be part of the mosaic, and they are organized, and they have a motivation, they have ideology, but they're not going to be as many as in Egypt. They are part of a coalition. So if Syria, wishful thinking, is going to be democratic, liberal, pragmatic, pluralistic, this is good for Israel.
Professor Moshe Maoz, professor of Middle Eastern Studies and Islamic Studies at Hebrew University, thank you so much for joining us today on JN1.
Thanks very much.